What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts. That was terrible. Oh no, I gotta redo that. Hold on. We've got another deck profile today. This time we're looking at Generators. Again, this is one of my favorite archetypes, actually. Ever since this came out, especially the Lopter. Once Lopter came out, definitely got a lot more bigger. I became a lot more big a fan of this deck, and yeah, it's a really cool deck. It's really interesting, very unique, and I actually think it's pretty good too. I think it's a pretty cool rogue deck. You know, it doesn't use its normal summon too much, so you can play like generic engines in it if you want, and go to town. So just has some very, very powerful cards that get you so much value off of just one single card as long as it resolves. And I think that that really gives this deck like a really interesting place competitively. So without further ado, I don't want to waste too much more time. Let's jump right into this guy. Starting here, we've got obviously our monsters. 3 copies of Lopter, Shadow of the Generator bosses. He is amazing. Seriously. He's probably the best monster outside of Har in the deck. He's really good. He just has a quick effect during either player's main phase to tribute himself to summon any Generator monster from the deck. So you just trade him for a level 9 monster on your opponent's turn or your turn, either or. He's very, very good. So yeah, we'll get back to him later. He also gives a 1,000 buff to all Generator monsters you control during your opponent's turn only, but that can actually come up to be a really annoying, just have a ton of huge bodies. And then the only other 2 normal summons I play are 2 copies of Condemned Witch. I thought about playing this at 2, and you totally could if you want to. Listen, you already draw your 7 bricks, because all of the high-level monsters are bricks. Do not get that mixed up. So all of them are bricks, as well as the fact that you can draw extra copies of your field spell, and those can technically be bricks. So I didn't want to also brick on playing too many normal summons, so I figured 3 and 2. Obviously he's like a little bit better because him getting hand trapped is really bad, but Condemned Witch at 2 is really cool. It searches a forbidden quick play spell on normal summon, and then during the opponent's main phase you contribute her to special summon Lopter straight from the deck. She just summons 1 level 4 fairy, and he is a level 4 fairy. So the synergy there is really, really good. We'll get to the forbidden spells later, because the last time I did this profile, a certain amazing card in the meta was not in existence yet in our game. So we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, 2 copies of her. Very, very nice card. And the other thing about this card that's actually kind of nice going second, I guess I might as well mention this, is while this deck doesn't seem inherently good going second, I don't think it's amazing, but this card's actually better than people think going second, because you summon her and she's like a must negate. 100% your opponent like has to negate her, or they could be in trouble, because then she just gets you Forbidden Droplet, and then you negate their board and kill them. And so they have to be wary about stuff like that. So moving on to the boss monsters, we're going to go through these pretty quick. We have 2 copies of Har, 1 Utgarda, 1 Needhog, 1 Mardell, 1 Hela, and 1 Develgus. This is fairly standard for the boss lineups as of right now. So the disruptive ones, obviously Har is the best one. That's why we play 2 of him. He's an Omni Negate, plus he can, if your opponent draws a card outside of the battle, not the battle phase, the draw phase, you can rip an extra card out of their hand, or adds. If they add a card, I believe he also rips. So that's pretty cool. Utgard is just a quick effect to banish. Needhog is actually pretty choice. Some people don't play him because they think his disruption's not strong enough, but I actually like him because he only tributes 1 Generator monster. So even if you just have him on the field, or you just have Lopter and not the field spell, you can still go Lopter into Needhog. If worst case scenario you need to stall, you need to just stop your opponent for 1 turn, he can still just be a 1 disruption for that. And he's like a pseudo Solemn Strike. He just negates a special summon by tributing a Generator. And then we have Mardell on summon. She searches a Generator card. Very good. The main reason she comes up is if you didn't open field spell, but you did open Lopter, you can go Lopter, tribute himself to summon Mardell. Mardell gets you the field spell, and bing, bada, boom. Quick and simple, just gets you to field spell. And that's what this deck really needs to do, is just get to field spell. After that, though, we've got the Hela. She's really good for recursion. She tributes a Generator, special a Generator from grave, so getting back any of the 1-ofs or Lopter or something if you want. And then Develgus, he helps special them out of your hand. Keep in mind you're playing all 5 of these as 1-ofs in the deck, so if maybe you drew Lopter, but you also drew Mardell. So Lopter can't go for Mardell. If you don't play Develgus, you just lose, right? If you didn't open field spell, right? But now you could go Lopter into Develgus, Develgus into Mardell, and then Mardell searches you field spell. Still gets you field spell. It opens up stuff for that, as well as like if you open Hela, Needhog, new card. If you want to get any of them out, he's important for that. So 7 of those, like I said before, they are bricks. All of them are bricks. Do not get that confused with anybody else. With anything else, they're bricks. But you know, it is what it is. They're powerful when you get them on the field. For the hand trap lineup, as far as the monsters go, the 3 Gamma and the Driver, I really like this in this deck. One, this is just amazing in the metagame right now. It's probably the best hand trap outside of, what, Nibiru right now? Maybe in Perm. It's just insane. And you also have so many cards that when you activate them, you have no cards on field. So, like, you go Lopter, Tribute Lopter. Okay, does your opponent want to respond? Cool. If it's a monster, we can negate. Witch. If you tribute Witch on your opponent's turn and they try and negate it, boom, Driver or Gamma them. As well as some of the what's the other thing? Like activate field spell and your opponent just tries to omni negate the field spell going second. Boom, Gamma lets you play through stuff. So it's very, very good in this deck. Extravagance too is another one. Like you have so many cards in this deck that you don't even have to have a monster on field to be able to Gamma, and I love that synergy. And then 2 Ash, 2 Nibiru. This is not too crazy. Ash is just Ash. Like, I like it, but I guess in this deck you can play a lot of hand traps. Specifically, I like Gamma in here, so I wanted to make room. So he dropped Ash to 2 and Nibiru to 2. Nibiru's pretty cool too, because like something with like Lopter, you can go tribute Lopter as Chainlink 1 and then Nibiru Chainlink 2 on your opponent's turn. So Lopter would tribute itself as cost, so it's not even on the field. Nibiru wipes the field, does the token thing, and then Lopter resolves to get the monster on field even after Nibiru resolves. So there's cool synergy with stuff like that. With plays like that, as well as when you summon tokens on your opponent's turn, Nibiru just counts generically the summons of that turn, not your opponent's summons. So if you're summoning on their turn, that counts towards the total and opens up for Nibiru. So even just using boss stage just to give them, just to give yourself tokens to make Nibiru live in hand can also come up. But that's it for the monsters. For these spells, obviously we're maxing out on the field spell. This is the best card in the deck, and it's your lifeline. I mean, this is the reason why the deck is so cool, is that like even though you brick on the 7 bricks you play, even if you like draw nothing but like redundant cards, this card can just win a duel by itself. Seriously. Like, and that's what makes this deck so cool, is that if this resolves, you can beat any deck in the game. You seriously can. They're obviously good in worse matchups, but like, you know, generally this card resolving means you're in a really good spot. So you just get so much value off it. So you got to max out on it, because even if you draw multiple copies, like especially after game 1, your opponent, you know, your opponent's siding the Cosmic Cyclones, the Lightning Storms. They are trying to keep this off the field at all costs. So you definitely need 3 to be able to grind in the post game 1 situations. 3 Extravagance. This is more of a control-y version of a more control-y pure generator version, so you're not too worried about the extra deck, like really at all, other than a couple of like rank 9s and I guess specific side deck stuff. Other than that, Pot of Extravagance is here. It's an awesome card. It's a power card because it's just a +1 if you need it. It is an automatic bait of like an Ash or something. Or a negate somewhere, and I love that. It's just you could use like literally, so the hands are like, you could open this, right, activate this has to be a negate. Normal summon like normal summon Witch, boom, she has to be negated, because otherwise you get Droplet and you negate their board. And then you activate like boss stage, and if they try and negate it, you Gamma it. And then like obviously that's a pretty choice hand, but like if it would work out that way, that's why I like this version of the deck. It is way better going second than it was before. 1 copy of Generator Boss Quest. Just one of this because it's searchable. So if you just opened a really heavy like brick hand with like the level 9s, you could use Mardell to search this. This takes 1 generator monster in hand, shuffles it back into the deck to like search 2 generator spells or traps. The one thing I would love for this deck, if for future support, is like 1 more good spell, 1 more good trap, or just as long as 1 is good enough, it'll make this card a potential 3 of, because then this card can just search non-redundant cards, and that's the biggest problem with it right now, is it just searches redundant cards. The trap gets you to the field spell. The field spell is the field spell. And then there's the one other trap that like is an okay way of helping your field spell resolve, and like that's it. So I really like us having this, but I also wish that we just had better, like more diverse targets. If you already had field spell, you could get a little something extra off this instead of just getting more redundancy in terms of just extra copies of the field spell. But still, it's just a one of for now, and when it comes up nicely, but I didn't want to commit to too many copies of it. And then the last, I guess not the last spell, but one of the spells we play, one Called by the Grave. Ash is really annoying for this deck. Like, getting ashed on your boss stage is really obnoxious, so Called is just extra insurance there, and then it's just fine otherwise in the format, you know what I mean, just negating stuff. Arclight, they activate Arclight, you activate this, and now they feel like they really want to Boral Savage it. So it helps you bait extra negates and stuff. Pretty cool. Then for the final spells, I'm on 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet and 1 copy of Forbidden Chalice. This is my personal ratio for right now. Feel free to adjust this to your personal preference. I don't have Droplet. It's insanely expensive, so just keep that in mind. I'm proxying it here. Obviously, if you don't want to play Droplet, which is the big power buff as of recently to this deck, you could just play a second Chalice and then just play, you know what I mean, like other generic cards if you want. That's up to you. But at least if you're trying to play this version like me, I really like 2 Droplet. It makes it searchable off of Witch, so technically you're playing like 5 copies of this card, and you just, because you play all these bricks, the 7 like big monster bricks, like you just end up with them in hand. You just end up with that plus like just redundant cards in hand, so the discard off of this is not that big of a deal. Or the send cost, at least for this, is not that big a deal, and it really helps the deck with going second. And then Chalice is also there. If you don't have discards and you're just in a really weird situation, Chalice is also really good just to be simple, and also I don't know, to be, you know, activate them both in a row. Potentially, if you didn't have a monster to send and they had to respond with a monster, you could still Chalice as a chain link 3 or something, like still kind of cool. So yeah, that's it. 2-in-1 for that. Obviously, this needs more testing. Maybe the corrector issue is just 3-no. Just don't play Chalice if you're trying to play like the best version here. But I think for right now, I think 2-in-1 seems pretty dang good. They're fine to open on their own. They're great to search as well. And then for the traps, I'm on 2 copies of Generator Boss Fight and 1 Boss Room. Okay, so Boss Fight is cool, but when you play 3 Boss Fight, 3 Stage, 1 Boss Quest, the Terraforming, like you're just playing too many copies of the field spell. You also have Lopter, which gets you to Mardell, which gets you to field spell. Like you have too many copies of stuff that gets you to the field spell, and I don't want to open, like I've just had too many hands where I've opened either double of this or like 1 of this, 2 field spell, and I'm just like, I'm opening too many of these cards. My deck's way too redundant. I get it, it's consistent, and that's good, but too much redundancy just takes away power. You could be opening other cards that would still be activatable and like add to your board state instead of just being backup, you know what I mean? So 2 of this is still fine, and then the 1 Boss Room, this is mainly just there for quest. When I do make a quest play, a lot of times I find myself getting Boss Room because the other cards are just redundant. I don't need them, so this is actually something different, and it's technically like a negate, sort of, so that's kind of cool. And then for the rest of the traps, are on 3 Imperm, 2 Judgment. I like Judgment in this deck for sure, especially going first. It's like that one screw anything, one thing you have. If it's Lightning Storm, evenly matched, gone. Like take care of that one thing, and then the deck like has other Omni Negates and disruptions and stuff, so you should be fine. So I like that. I would almost consider playing 3, but maybe just not in the main. Maybe I'd side the 3rd, and then when you know you're going first, the 3rd one comes in just for that insurance versus the Haymaker cards, and then obviously Imperm, pair Imperm with the other 6 hand traps we I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hand traps I believe we have. So that's actually 11 plus Droplet plus Chalice. We actually have a lot of stuff. That's pretty respectable going second. So that is it for the main. That's 40 cards in the main for the generators here, and that'll take us to this extra deck. Keep in mind, guys, I'm not going crazy on the extra deck. I just want to show off a couple of key cards, and then I want to talk about the extra deck real quick. Like I said before, this deck really does not use its extra deck very much, but there are a handful of Frank 9s that could potentially come up at some point. Obviously Calamities, that's like the first one everybody thinks of. It's good, but also they're like, just think about when you're making this card and what you're making it with. Like, are you going to take an Omni Negate, Hand Rip, and like a quick Banish and just link and just like overlay those into Calamities? I mean, like, you could, but is it worth, is what I'm saying. Like, I know Calamities is insane, but like, is it more insane than that, or is it really overall worth? I don't know. Earth Slicer definitely can come up because he's just mass removal, and like you don't have mass removal in this deck. You only have stuff like what, Utgarda, who's just like one quick banish, and that's just not enough. So I really like being able to go into Earth Slicer and just like pop double cards, especially if you do something like Forbidden Droplet your opponent, then make Earth Slicer and just hit 2 cards. Like that can be absolutely insane. Then you have Fortress Enter Blacknir. This card's also insane. It's just like pick any one of like a couple of really busted things, banish something from that they control, banish something from their hand. It's actually pretty good to hand rip them, especially late in the game. Like then they have to deal with the field spell with 1 less card, and it's just tough. And then 9 Lives Cat. This one's like the worst one of them all, but I believe it just like what, Reborn's a level 9. Yeah, you could special summon 1 level 9 monster from the grave, and it's untargetable by your opponent's card effects. It's fine. It still could be a 3,300 booty that can reborn something once per turn. So in a grind game, it could be cool. But these are really the only things that really matter as far as like inherently the deck will summon. Other than that, I would say like there's a couple side deck things you could look at. I guess like the biggest one is probably Super Polymerization. This card's like kind of cool right now, particularly just because like Dragonlink and Dragoon are running around, so it's actually fairly easy to super poly a lot of decks. But some people still shy away from it. The only thing that deters me is that like some Dragonlink builds like still do the Buster Lock, and so if they Buster Lock you, like you still like lose. Like you can't activate this under Buster Lock. So they're just like, you know, you don't want to just get caught off guard and have them have the Buster Lock, and you're just like, oh, so I lose now. And then I'd also, for the side deck stuff, I'd also play like Sphere Mode for sure. And I know you have 5 normal summons, but I'd probably like side out the Witches going second. I would just side out 2 Witch and maybe like the Chalice, and then just side like 3 of this in, and it's just your new best normal summon, especially against stuff like Infernobles and Dragonlink. Like that's the main goal here, is to be able to just decimate a board in one go. And stuff like Dragonlink, they can grind, but they don't grind if you destroy their field, because they just like don't have enough extra deck monsters to like continue dueling with you. They may have 5 cards left in extra deck max, and so just hitting them with one of these is like such a kick in the shorts for them. So very, very good. And I think that's mainly it for the deck profile, guys. Seriously, one of my favorite decks. I have a ton of fun playing a deck like this. It's like the exact kind of like control that I love to like play with. You just have huge haymakers. You have the ability to play going second stuff and hand traps and anything else. I mean, keep in mind, I play the Witch. If you didn't want to play like Witch plus the droplets, you could play any just strong normal summon. There are people that were playing like the Synchron stuff in the deck. You could play stuff like Invoked if you wanted to. It's a lot of stuff you could play in here as a supplementary engine. I think that's the other thing that's really cool with the Generaider lineup. Is any deck that really just doesn't use its normal summon too much, it really has room for like a lot of combination with other archetypes or engines and stuff. So that's pretty much going to do it for me here, though. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.